What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of No Client Agent Privilege, aka No Cap Podcast. I'm back here with my guy Will. We are under the Tiki Hut again for another episode, and it is draft week. So, as an agent, as an agency, we are in grind mode, trying to make sure we keep in touch of GMs, scouts, coaching staffs, and everything that we do as an agency. We make sure we're locked in for this week, both for the NFL draft and obviously for the NBA draft as well. So, as we all know, Bears have the number one draft pick. And after everything they've done so far this offseason, it all comes down to what quarterback are they in love with? And the answer seems to be Caleb Williams. Now, draft time is not far away, and it is, only about 48 hours, but things change, things can happen, but for the most part, everyone has a consensus that Caleb Williams is going to be numero uno off the board. And I don't know. I mean, for me, I'm not sold on him. I think I love him as a player. I think I appreciate his grind. I just have not committed myself to building my organization that has been in such turmoil the last decade now to really come in and build this. I think honestly, if I'm looking at anybody as a diagram or as a roadmap as to becoming successful again, I think I'm going to the Detroit side and building up my defense, and then kind of picking pieces, vets and this and that, and maybe building some young core offensive line guys, getting a few athletes around, and then finding my quarterback, whether it's free agency or trade or things like that. So for me, I mean, no knock on any rookie quarterback at all. I mean, I think depending on the situation you get thrown into, can basically decide your career. I mean, there's a whole reason that Eli Manning did not go to the Chargers during the time when he got drafted. I mean, he didn't want to go there because he knew the situation he was going into. Now, majority of the time, most rookies in that situation aren't going to have that ability to kind of hold out that long. Mm-hmm. Okay, you're gonna go where you're going to get drafted. It's very unlikely that you have that kind of power anymore. So again, is Caleb Williams the guy to get it done? I mean, sure, he can be. He's got the skill set for it. But
I think
when you go into
skills,
it, yeah.
But I don't. I when I watched him, I didn't really like what I saw from him. Me personally, I think that maybe what you see in the media, the character issues maybe
That's
could be there, and then just from what I've seen, just the way that he carries himself, not necessarily character issues, but he definitely thinks very highly of himself.
Oh, no doubt.
He should.
Self-confidence is off the charts for him.
But the NFL is definitely different than college. I think that goes without saying, especially when you want to go first overall, but you're going to a team that, like you said, the Bears haven't been good in recent history. They don't have a great team overall, offense and defense. You don't want to get put in a situation like if you're Bryce Young with the Panthers.
Perfect example.
One person can't necessarily turn around a football team. We hear, the Texans with C.J. Stroud. Everyone, obviously that was a great addition.
Right.
But the Texans were getting there.
They were building.
Like the same thing with what you said. The Lions.
Right.
Were building.
Right.
The Bears. I look at the Bears. I don't think that Caleb Williams is the savior, and I don't think the Bears are going to save Caleb Williams.
No, I don't think the Bears organization has done justification to really go out and say that, like, hey, we're going to put those guys around Caleb to be successful. I think he's got a few offensive weapons. I think their defense is subpar, to say the least. I think they have a long ways to go. But again, I guess my biggest thing is you're trying to build your franchise around him. Are you going to even be able to protect him? Like that, I think, and it's no knock on the offensive line and generally speaking. Like, it's not their fault, but like, if you have the number one pick since last year, go out and get the number one, either offensive tackle, offensive line, just in general, free agency, those top guys. You better be fiending and trading and getting rid of salary, whatever it is that you need to do to make sure that offensive line coming back this year is going to be able to protect your first round, first overall quarterback, your future, your messiah, you name it, you've got it in this kid. So if that's where, I'm looking at as a general manager, I'm going straight to free agency. I'm going straight to the trading block.
Mm-hmm.
Who can I trade? Who can I get to come in? I don't care if my quarterback throws for 500 yards. If he doesn't get touched, I'll be okay with that. I'll be more than happy with that if my first overall draft pick doesn't have more than double-digit sacks this year by my offensive line. Like
Right.
I'll take that all year, all day long. So
and again, the Bears have the first overall pick,
right,
and they have the 9th overall pick as well.
right.
So why can't, like you said, go get a better positional player, necessarily
that
offensive
too.
line or something to help the defense, and then wait to take that 9th? Like, are all the QBs going to be gone by then?
No.
Probably not.
Nope.
Probably not.
You could
And-
end up going down to 9 and taking J.J. McCarthy if he's still there. And
Right.
you could really build a team just because you know what he just did with Michigan. He didn't just come in and be like, yo, this team is perfect. They built it up for 2 years, and then they went and won a national championship. The same, but he was religious and strict in his way of learning his offense, getting better every year,
Mhm.
to taking them to that point of winning the national championship.
Mhm.
So if you have a quarterback with that mindset that, hey, yeah, this year's probably going to suck. I'm probably going to get beat up, but I have some guys coming in to help me.
Mhm.
I think that's a better mindset to have than Caleb Williams, who, hey, I'm coming in, I'm going to put the team on my back, I'm going to do everything that I can, where it's like, I don't want you to think like that. I want you to come in, I want you to be the quarterback and just the quarterback only. We're not looking for Jesus, we're not looking for Moses, we're not, we just need you to come in and play the position. So for me, and I think that's where, when you do draft the first overall quarterback, you kind of have to look at him as like the next big thing, the next, coming of, Christ, however it is that you want to, say it, because it's so much money. It's so
important.
much importance to the team. You are talking about the face of a billion-dollar organization, most likely. So you have to think like that. Yeah, you can't downplay it. You want to downplay it. You want to say, hey guys, he's coming in, he's gonna do great. He's gonna, we're gonna put the right pieces around him. But it's like you do kind of have to hold him to that standard of, hey, we took you first overall, man. This is what we expect of you.
Well, like you said, it's as much on him as it is on the coaches,
of course,
front office.
no doubt.
That's their decision, really.
Yeah,
you're bringing this guy in. He doesn't have any say until he gets there.
Right.
Right. So they're all on the hot seat too. Things
no
go
doubt.
bad during the season. Coach out of here.
We've got the best quarterback. How are we still losing?
Front office, after what happened with Justin Fields, if this happens again, same thing happens again, where are the fingers going to be pointed?
GM, owner's going to be on that GM like this.
Yeah.
Good thumb motion.
Yep.
Yep. So
they're going to be gone, that's.
But is there even a safer pick after that with regards to the top 3 quarterbacks? Do you, because after, so even say Caleb Williams doesn't goes first and he goes second to, who's it, Washington or Patriots? Who's got second?
It is Washington.
So Washington. So say they go Caleb, they go with somebody else. I don't know, anybody. Marvin Harrison. Let's say the Bears goes with Marvin Harrison. That's a great pickup. Marvin Harrison is the best wide receiver in the draft by far. Top 5 pick overall. Doesn't even matter where you look. But then you go, like I said, like we talked about just right here. Before that, you're talking about you go down to pick 9. If Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, and Drake May are the only quarterbacks gone, you still got Penix. You still got JJ.
Mm-hmm.
There are multiple quarterbacks that you could really, with the receiver core that they have, you really could go in and maybe do something.
Yeah.
Like you maybe if you go Penix and you got Penix throwing to DJ Moore, Marvin Harrison, You bring in a couple good running backs in the later rounds. I
The
mean,
Bears
you
have
really
Keenan Allen now
Keenan
too.
Allen. Yeah, I mean, you give a Penix like that. I mean, come on. I don't know. Again, I'm just not sold on Caleb. It's
Mm-mm.
honestly just for me. I think this last year at USC just like rubbed me the wrong way. The way he went
Mm-hmm.
about going back more so than him saying I had unfinished business. Like the Heisman Trophy, you did what you had to do. Like just go to the pros. Like go prove, but like because I don't think he proved anything by going back this year.
I
If
don't think
anything,
so.
if anything, I think he did himself a disservice, and I think
Yeah.
he could have. I mean, again, I don't think anything playing wise. I mean, obviously USC was not as good as on paper as everyone thought they would be. Um, but again, for me, I don't know. I'm just not sold on him. I hope he does well. Like if I was his agent, the slander that has come out, I'm definitely, one of those guys that would go out and defend my guy. So on his agent's part, defending Caleb and kind of like pushing the issue, like, hey, he's more than this. Like he is a football guy, and the reports have come out that he is all football. So it's like you hear mixed reviews, but you hear mixed reviews about everybody. There's very
Right.
few guys that you're like, okay, that's not our guy. He's a first round pick, but no,
Right.
like this isn't a movie. This isn't
No.
Bo Callahan
No.
from Draft Day. Like
No.
it's not like how many guys showed up to his birthday party. It's very rare that's a real thing.
Right.
So Vontae Mack ain't here. It's Vontae Mack or nobody. So um, but I think, and from my experience from last year, dealing with the guys that I was talking to during the draft time and signing guys and players, when we were talking about some of those guys, the sleepers and the diamonds in the rough, you look at majority of the rosters from the 4th to 7th, that's where a majority of teams have those best of the 4th to 7 are the teams that are fighting for the playoffs.
Right.
They're the ones that are having successful teams. It's very rare that the guys who are first, second, and third rounders that have made it to their second contracts are on good teams still.
Mm-hmm.
There's very few. I mean, other than in the recent years, I would most likely say, like the Jags have gotten better in general, like have really put in emphasis on culture and things of that nature. But the guys that have been brought in, the 4th rounders, the 5th, 6th, 7th guys that have come in to help build those cultures around them, have really what made teams like that have always been known for sucking come
Yeah.
into their own and really kind of put them, on the map. Trying to think who else. Houston. Houston, great example. You got your first few rounders the last 3-4 years, but then you bring in some vets to come in and kind of solidify that roster and kind of help you out. I mean, now it's Stephon Diggs. I mean, you should have that offense should be. I mean, smooth sailing. I mean, knock on wood, of course, but at this point for them, I'm thinking deep playoff run this year.
I hope so.
If I'm Houston, I'm thinking we. What else do we need? Tank's coming back. I've seen all the videos online. He's looking healthy. You got Stephon coming in. You got a running back with Mixon. You got another receiver that came out at the end of the year. Nico Collins.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like if I'm Houston owner, I'm chomping at the bit now. Who are we picking up in this draft? Who we gonna add to this roster? Who are we gonna do? Like what are we gonna do? I mean, that's where I'm at. I got to give it to the Houston organization on that one. Coaching staffs, GMs, you guys picked some winners these last few years. So kudos
Yes,
to
it's
you guys
exciting. It's exciting to be a Houston Texans fan
for sure.
these days.
So I
For
mean,
sure.
especially because you did have the guys that weren't the diamonds in the rough, that weren't the sleeper picks, who came in and they did what they were supposed to. The C.J. Stroud, the Will Andersons, the last 2 years of the guys.
Mm-hmm.
Even Tank Dell. Tank Dell was not, really hyped on until probably, I would say, towards middle of the drafts like process when he finally ran his 40. I think people started looking at that Houston tape and were like, whoa, this kid can ball. Like this kid can fly out, flat out running. I even saw him at Senior Bowl last year in Alabama. He was probably my favorite receiver at the Senior Bowl. I mean,
That's good.
So.
Oh yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting stuff. We'll see what the draft brings. You brought up some great points, and I agree. You can't always just think that, yeah, you have a high draft pick and it's gonna
pan
you
out.
know, it's gonna pan out. It's gonna change the trajectory. It's one guy. You got to fit him in, you
Yep,
know,
no doubt.
and you got to run with it and see what happens. You know, things work, things don't. So it's gonna be exciting to see this season and this off season. You know what else happens because it's not over.
No,
It's
no,
far from
I mean,
over.
we haven't even. I mean, we're talking this draft that's about to happen will set the tone for a lot of what's going to happen. I mean,
Right.
obviously, this is what sets the tone for the upcoming season. Like, moves are made, trades are made, guys are picked out of nowhere that you didn't hear of or know of. Like, for me, it's always like I try to find those guys before they're found. So for me, like we've talked about the sleepers and the guys that maybe didn't do their pro days that great or combine test well, whatever it might have been, that after those testings,
Mm-hmm.
the scouts like, okay, maybe not. Like maybe they're not built for us, or maybe they're not made for our team. And I don't really, I never like that on the scouting end. I think that's like overall, like for the scouting departments from the NFL to the NBA to all the departments like that. I think testing is a good scaling. Like, you can scale things based off of it,
Mm-hmm.
but to just go right out and say because a running back runs a 4.7, but now that's turned into, hey, we don't want to draft him anymore. That is like just blasphemy to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if this kid has double-digit touchdowns, double-digit, 40+ yard rushes, for me, I'm looking at it like, well, can he play ball? You're saying he runs a 4.7, but he's got almost 20 touchdowns in a season. What am I missing?
Right.
What am I? I mean, I got a kid from UTSA. He averages 17 yards a catch. He has 8 touchdowns. He was a second option on a decent offense. Like, Frank Harris could throw it. I mean, they had Cephas out there who was probably going to be a late mid-second day pick. Like, this kid, 6'5", 6'6", runs a 4.4. He shows up on film, but yet nobody's ever heard of him. How do we change that just because he was the second option, or because the film that they're showing isn't I wouldn't say good enough, but like doesn't jump out as much.
Right.
Like,
Maybe
if you just
because the team that he was.
yeah, exactly, and that's where it kills me, especially on the agent side, where it's like the agents that are the powerhouse, of course they're going to listen to those guys first. Like, they're if Drew Rosenhaus calls you about somebody from University of Southern Alabama, you're probably going to answer that call and go take a look at him. So it's like, because of that fact, it does matter who's talking on your behalf. But again, for this, you're talking about a kid who did everything, on the testing side,
Right.
and still not getting a look because of the team he was on.
Right.
So it's like all these different factors. Like, you could test well, do great things on film, but because the team you went to, you're not taken seriously. Or you could be on a great team, you test shitty, and now we don't want to draft you anymore. Like, their scouts, teams, everybody are always looking for any red flag that is just good enough to be like, hey, we don't need to look at him anymore. Hey, he's not our cup of tea. Hey, character issues, bad habits, eats mayo. Like, it's stupid as shit. You don't really necessarily know what that red flag will ever be. But of course, you were talking about the most random things that a scout can find, or a department of, scouting can find, and really see, hey, this is not our guy. This is not where we want to go with. So
Mm-hmm.
happens every year. We'll see on Thursday. Something's gonna come out about somebody in the first or second round, and their draft stock's gonna. And of course, for me, I think it's just the GM's trying to bait the other teams not to take them. They're gonna try and be like, hey, let's put this out there right now. Excuse me. Let's put this out there right now, and let's go ahead and let's let these other teams know. That way, we can get them later in the third. Save us $2 million. Teams do it all the time. Most people don't even know, but things like that get leaked for a reason, and all of a sudden,
It happened with Laramie Tunsil.
oh yeah,
Laramie
the
Tunsil.
smoke gas video,
Laramie
or
Tunsil.
face mask video.
That
great.
sent his draft stock plummeting. I
Yep.
mean, I guess, it's something to raise an eyebrow at,
Of course.
but
I mean, you got to do
how
your
does
due
it
diligence.
translate to the field?
I mean, it hasn't. He's an all-pro tackle, so
Right.
how can you even? I mean, we look back, we laugh and look back at it now. How it, it could have affected him. It could have been the thing
Yeah.
to ruin his career, but thank God, like the team, they took the chance and still drafted him because now we look at it, where are we at in the world with weed? Like almost like 50% of the states in the United States are legalized it, or at least recreationally have decriminalized it.
Right.
So it's like now we look at it. That whole ordeal could have ruined this entire career of this all pro, great. Who knows where he'll finish in his career, but a great offensive tackle in the NFL right now, top 10 for sure. So. You just laugh at that stuff because now obviously, but when that came out, whoever launched it, whoever released it, was banking on this man, just plummeting. And I mean, he did take a hit for sure.
Yeah.
So, it definitely made a difference.
Yeah.
So it wasn't no Bo Callahan, but, he,
Who else? I know you mentioned the kid from UTSA. Is there anyone else that kind of stands out to you as one of those not talked about, but you think that their game will translate well to NFL?
I'm trying to think. Yeah, I mean, there's a few guys that I think. Go ahead.
I have some, that I was looking at. I've been discussing with friends and whatnot, but Mikey Samverstro from Michigan, defensive back.
Yep.
He had a good year. I don't think that he's supposed to go first round. I can look right here.
Yeah, I mean,
His
he's a Florida
combine
boy.
grade is 6.24, meaning it says will eventually be an average starter. But that's just right off the front of things.
The NFL.com, whatever.
Right.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, for corner, good size, maybe a little undersized at 5'9".
Right.
But obviously, people have still liked what they've seen out of him. He played on a Michigan team that
national championship, a 3-year
Michigan
starter,
with
I
a
believe.
great defense. Right. So that's one. A personal one of mine. Tremon Morris-Brash.
Yep.
From
Tremon.
UCF.
Love Trey.
I don't know. Obviously, people that are higher up in scouting and whatnot think that he's not as good as some of the other defensive linemen.
Agreed.
But I personally think that he's going to be great in the league. I know that we tried to do our thing with him, do some research, talk to him.
Yep.
But I see him doing very well. I know that I don't think he went to the combine.
No, they did that pro day.
Yeah, right. They had the
Big 12
pro day, and
which
he's still doing workouts and stuff. So
he's down with Sac Sensei down in Miami. They're training. So Tremon, I hope we got your back. We hope nothing for the best for you. I think one of the biggest sleepers, and really he shouldn't even be a sleeper, technically speaking, is Jordan Travis. Like, he has not been talked about since his injury. He's
got a lot to prove.
Why? What does he have to prove? What on the quarterback?
It's kind of the same thing with Penix, right?
Why?
That's kind I have no
issues with. Well, but this is an injury. Penix has had multiple injuries.
Right, but all it takes is, he had a pretty serious injury, Jordan Travis.
Penix was worse. Both his knees were destroyed. His injuries were bone. I'll take the bone injuries over the ligament injuries. Bones are repaired easy. Ligaments, you never know what's going to come back and how they're going to repair. So if I'm an NFL scout, and at this point now, it's all the hush hush. We just saw Jordan out 2 weeks ago, walking around, no boot, no limp, no nothing, normal. It's only been 5 months. December, January, February, March, April.
Yeah.
So 5 months, you're already back, you're already throwing, the videos are coming out. You didn't test, you didn't do this. But for me, when I look at it as potential quarterback for my future, I'm hoping he comes either to Florida and sits behind Tua for a couple years, or even go to Tampa and sit behind Baker for a couple years
Mm-hmm.
and let him just learn. Because again, for me at this point, we're talking about sleepers. That man has not been talked about since his injury.
Right.
And I understand, a lot to prove, and the quarterbacks in this draft are pretty deep. But if I'm him, and I've already slipped down to what, probably like the third round, I think that I saw his projections at.
Right now, it's 184.
184.
His peak was 99th, which would be what?
Third
early
round.
fourth.
Well, 32, third round.
Yeah, early fourth.
Early third. 32 picks times 3.
32 times 3 is 96.
So early fourth, yeah. So early fourth, I would have had him projected closer to mid-second if he didn't get hurt.
That could be a great pick, though. You never know. Whoever gets him, obviously, there's no
I
team
think there's no loss.
No.
If you get him in the third or early fourth, mid-fourth, whatever.
He'll probably go in the third.
For me, I look at Jordan as a solidified veteran quarterback that I don't have to worry about not succeeding or not progressing in the NFL,
right,
which is always
not
the
doing what he's supposed to do.
That's
he's gonna
my
come
thing.
in,
do his job,
go to work,
yep,
leave. He's gonna do his thing,
and that's
for
all
me. You can really ask for, right?
I look at it from you take out the injury perspective, you put him against Georgia. If he goes and beats Georgia, big bad Georgia, in the Orange Bowl,
you're looking at first round.
Yeah, thank you. You just read my mind. Are we really going to sit here and discuss how Jordan Travis could not have taken that team that they did have and put them up against Georgia's defense and actually made it a game and not a 66-0 blowout?
They could have made it a game.
For sure. For sure. I mean, I get it, and that's why they missed the playoffs and all that. That's another topic for another day. I got all that. We are no FSU fans here by any means, but you're still undefeated. You put them in.
Yeah.
Sorry. I understand the quarterback was out. Undefeated is undefeated. In the ACC, if it was any other team with the right quarterback, it would have been a no thought. But because it was them with no quarterback, I got it. I understand it. Whatever. We're moving past it. But again, Jordan Travis with that win is a first-round draft pick.
What about another quarterback, Michael Pratt?
That's a local boy, 5'6", baby.
Local.
Hey, Pratt, you my dog though. I'll give you that. You shouldn't have transferred to Deerfield. You should have stayed Boca. But I give it to you. Yeah, another one who's going to go in, do his job, be mature, be willing to learn, be ready to grow and understand where he is systematically. Where he's gonna go, I hope to somebody that's willing to give him a veteran. I would hope if I'm New York, they just traded Zach Wilson. I'll take a Pratt. Let him sit behind A-Rod.
Sure.
There, or if San Fran needs to put somebody up between him and Brock, just in case, because I see a lot of similarities between them two. Trying to think who else.
Maybe the Vikings.
Maybe
the Vikings.
The Vikings. So I think Vikings are obviously going to go with the quarterback first round.
Yeah.
I just don't know who, whether it's Drake May or Penix or.
Pratt's not supposed to go until 117-ish.
Yeah, fourth round.
Yeah.
Sounds about right. I would see.
He peaked at 34, so I don't know what happened there.
Well, they saw how good he did with the team that he had last year. And then kind of, this year was still good. He got that injury.
Yeah, it was good, yeah.
So,
he had a decent year.
Yeah, I think so too. And Pratt, again, I think working with the guys he worked out with, I think a lot of that, helped him in his career path.
Mm-hmm.
Quarterback prep does a really good job getting those types of guys the momentum going into this type of stuff. Knowing who they're working out with, knowing that, that they're getting draft ready.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that stuff, being a pro ready, is I think probably the hardest part with regards to rookie quarterbacks. I think Pratt and JT, I think both of them are guys that are set on how we say draft ready, quarterback ready, pro ready, all that. They're those types of guys. So for me, when I look at it from that perspective, I'm like, yo, they got it.
Mm-hmm.
Like they'll whether fourth or third doesn't even matter.
Mm-hmm.
They go into the system, whether even if it's a New England or Cleveland, and fight for a spot. I think they'll win that third quarterback spot. Depending on how they get drafted. So, again, trying to figure out where they're going to get drafted come those mid third, early fourth rounds on day 2, day 3. Now, I'm not quite sure. We'll see how those first rounds of quarterbacks go, who goes where, what teams pick up what,
Mm-hmm.
and then kind of base it off that. But for the most part, I believe at this point for Pratt and JT, they're going to be steals, true sleepers. Like Pratt playing at Tulane, obviously not a big powerhouse conference, USA, American Conference, whatever they are.
American.
American. It's like when they beat UCF. Like probably should have gotten way more hype that they beat UCF. We were a good team and we lost. That's like, but yet Pratt got like no love for it.
Right.
So, but that's the price to pay in the American and smaller G5 leagues like that. So again, another kind of sleeper. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I mean, I feel like if you're a draft pick, sometimes you shouldn't be considered a sleeper too. You know what I mean? Like if you're getting drafted, that means you're a top 600
Maybe somebody
player.
that should have been higher.
Right. That for sure.
Somebody that should have been higher. That's going to get picked up somewhere.
For sure.
In the hundreds.
Right. No, I get that. Yeah. I mean, I think for me, and even getting in it a little bit deeper than that, is kind of those free agent, those undrafted rookies that end up becoming the bigger part of a team, depending on how big of impact he comes in and brings.
Right.
Because those guys are the ones that end up being the big contract on that second year that the team just falls in love with. Specialty guys, stuff like that. So,
right.
Those guys, we can always, find those and really, push the issue. So, anyone else sleeper wise for you?
For me, maybe I saw the center from Wisconsin. We have Tanner Bordellini.
Yep.
I'd say we're talking about a center right now.
Right.
How much can you say? He looked good.
Right.
At Wisconsin. I have a friend of mine that told me that he liked him as well, and that he could definitely translate well to the league.
Right.
It says here on his combine webpage, average backup or special teamer.
Right.
But his athleticism score was 99, which was first at the combine. Total score was 79, which was third. Production score was 62, which was seventh. So my friend thinks that he possesses a lot of the same skills that NFL centers have.
Yeah.
If teams need a center, maybe that position doesn't change too often.
Right.
I
think that becomes more of a chemistry type thing. Like, can a guy who has not worked with any of the quarterbacks getting drafted, or because Wisconsin has not produced a good quarterback in years,
right?
Can he come in and build? Centers obviously have to be probably the most fluid with regards to.
That's a good point.
A blink of an eye, you can be snapping to somebody else for the rest of your career. So you got to be able to, boom, be ready to go. It has to be perfect. Can't be any hiccups in those transitions. So center is I think probably out of all the offensive linemen with regards to getting drafted, center is probably the hardest if it's like not your center from college. Like, and do it like a battery pack, I guess you could say. So, but that jumping off the screen for me is the 99 athleticism. That means not only is he, on a scale of offensive lineman, but on a scale of overall athleticism of an NFL player. It's very rare you find anybody that's not a wide receiver, not a skills position player at that high of an athletic score. So for me, that's jumping off the screen. If I'm going to go back and watch the film and see where he sits. I mean, again, that Big Ten ball, Wisconsin's known for great offensive linemen. So why is he, graded so low, or, why isn't he graded higher? Could be the center position like we just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
It is a chemistry position, so
Mm-hmm.
definitely could be something. But with regards to getting drafted, whoever drafts him is going to get a hell of a center out of him just because of his skill set and athleticism, and probably the ability to be organic and learn whoever's under
Right.
center, probably be okay.
Right.
So
We might hear his name in a couple of years. You
I'm
never
trying to
know.
see. Let me see. Let me.
Hmm.
I want to see somebody. Let's see. I do love Matt.
You
Matt
looking
from.
for?
Go to. Just go to the six. Oh, I do like Leonard Taylor. I think he'll do well in
If
the
you have a
league.
name, you can search it right
Trying
here.
Johnny Wilson. Yeah, Johnny Wilson. Cedric Gray. Cam Kitchens. I think for me, I was gonna look for his partner in crime, um, Williams, James out of Miami. I don't know where he sits right now. You put in James Williams. Let's see where he's at. Miami. There he is, 188.
Yep.
I think that's
Peaked at 46.
yeah. See, I would say I mean, and again, I think he's kind of one of those guys that is kind of probably should have gone last year. I think he was draft eligible. I love James. I think he is about as close to oh my God. He was part of the Legion of Boom. Safety. Cam Chancellor.
Mm.
He's about as close to Cam Chancellor as we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Athletically, ball skills, hitting, all
Mm-hmm.
the above.
Mm-hmm.
James brings that to the table. I mean, if somebody's lucky enough to get him at that 188, they're going to get a dog. Like,
Yeah.
that's like a 188 pick like that. Like, you don't find those. Like, that's like basically, I think Chancellor got picked around kind of like 150, maybe, I think a little higher. But I mean, he was another one of those, like, coming out of school, he was just a baller. Like, James is a baller. So not quite sure why he's gotten so low. Because I believe Miami had a good season. So I don't know. He would be my sleeper with
Mm-hmm.
regards to somebody who was up there. Now you haven't heard about him. What's happened in between the season and now, I couldn't tell you. I mean, I've spoken to James beforehand, and I would look at him as a South Florida guy coming out of American Heritage Plantation, a powerhouse down
Mm-hmm.
here. I look at James, I'm thinking, late second, early third, just
Could
because
be.
I would like him to come in and, especially depending on what my defense is looking like. Like, if I'm a Carolina Panthers, I need safety help. I need DB help. I need, my D line is okay. I just lost Brian Birds. I need to get an edge
Yeah.
rusher. Like, I'll take that in the second, and then I'll go get some DB help. But a guy
Right.
like him that can bring physicality, speed, and athleticism to my defense immediately, that's who I would be going after.
Absolutely.
So I don't know. James is my guy. I fuck with him a lot.
Absolutely.
Trying to think. You can probably scroll down just a little bit. There's probably somebody I want to talk about. Oh, Joe Millen. There's another quarterback that I believe the blasphemy, I guess, around him. No hype. Not accurate, not this, not that, but the man did everything at Tennessee that you could possibly ask for. So I don't know, another 5'6" kid. He took a Tennessee team to beat an undefeated Alabama. He did everything he had to do at Tennessee to be I would say a top 10 quarterback, but
Right.
haven't heard about him all year. Since Tennessee lost, I would say versus who was it? Who did they lose to? Georgia or whoever they
Probably.
lost to?
I don't even know, to be honest.
Like, so, but again, even at that position, where'd he peak? 95.
95.
See, I would even say that's a little
Low.
Yeah, that's a little low. I mean, for me, I look at Joe Millen. You talk about NFL caliber arm, strength, speed. That ball flies out of his hands. I don't know, just another one of those guys where I'm like, Joe, quarterback wise, who do you put him behind to let him sit and learn? Maybe that's where it is. Maybe it's the knowledgeability, because I know for Heupel, his offense is. I feel like it's a pretty. I say it's a pretty hard offense to learn. And I mean, we saw it at UCF for 2 years, and who was running it? Dylan Gabriel was running it, and DG's now at Oregon. So, he's had 2 years to run 3 different offenses, or 3 years to run 3 different offenses. But yeah, I mean, again, for me, I look at Joe and I see, I see a stud. I don't know.
It'll be interesting to see how all these people pan out when they get drafted and it comes to game time or camp.
That's a good one. Matt Lee, another Miami boy. He played at UCF too. He was our center for the while.
Oh, okay.
He was the #1 center 2 years ago, 3 years ago, or no,
when he fell off a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Look at that shit. Yeah. 225 now. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, you're one of the top 4 or 5 inside offensive linemen in the entire country. Now you're not even in the top 5 rounds. Like, that's, whew. Let's go, just scroll down just a little bit. Hold on. Oh, that kid's interesting. That Stiggers kid from Toronto.
Oh, yeah?
I saw that. So he played for Toronto, the Argonauts, the CFL. But because of the way it worked in Canada, he's still eligible to get drafted this year, which is nuts.
That's interesting.
So I think he did the combine. I remember he did something at the I think he just did some drills. I don't know if he ran the 40. But again, one of those guys that, like, crazy enough, just has a crazy story to get him this type of opportunity.
Right.
So, Kendall Milton, he's going to be good. I think he's going to be good in the league. Running back out of Georgia. Again, running backs are just so undervalued. This is see that kid, that Joshua Cephas? That's the kid I was telling you about that was over the Ogle Kellogg kid. But yeah, I mean, see, like, these wide receivers here, so, like, Cephas, Rosemary, Jack Saint, like, he's Marcus is a Saint, no, not St. Andrews, American Heritage, American Heritage kid too. So American Heritage is gonna have like 4 or 5 draft picks this year. Like, they got some guys coming out this year. Oh, Frank Gore, God, I hope Miami picks him up. I really do. I hope he gets drafted like 7th round to Miami. Because, like, that's a kid who, like, Miami's offense fits perfectly. You don't have to be the big back. You don't have to be a power back. Catch the ball out of the backfield, be able to hit the hole, the cuts, have the speed to really, punch the hole. Frank Gore, the Miami offense, playing from here. Dad's from Miami, being from Miami. I think that'd be crazy. Cool. I think that'd be sick. And especially because at Southern Miss, he really didn't have a terrible offensive line. Now, they had a great offensive line, but, like, good enough to make his job easier than probably expected in that Conference USA. But also, he had to put a lot on his shoulder to get that offense going. So obviously, with not a good quarterback, things like that. But yeah, so I think that one would be a really cool pick. Frank Gore going to the 305, playing for the Dolphins, playing for his dad's team, like. If San Fran doesn't pick him up, because I have heard rumors that Frank Gore was in the building and Dad was, talking about his son, obviously. So we'll see. I mean, again, I think it'd be cool to have Frank down in Miami. I think he fits that offense really well. Tatum Bethune, another former UCF guy, linebacker. Yeah, I mean, we can go all day long with some of these guys. Like really. I mean, I think, again, where we talk about, sleeper versus diamond in the rough, where the real, I guess you could say, discrepancy is. If you get drafted, you're probably pretty good either way. Whether or not you got drafted higher than what you should have, I guess you could say that's where the sleeper, the draft diamond in the rough kind of comes into play. But then those guys who end up not getting drafted and really, getting their opportunity through undrafted free agency and things like that, those guys, they really put the effort in and stuff. So, good luck to those guys as well, and good luck to everybody throughout the next 48 hours, draft time, however long it takes to get this episode up. Good luck to you guys in the draft. But yeah, now we can get into the NBA a little bit, just talk about the playoffs and kind of how well we've started from the play-in to now teams are already down 0-2, 1-1. Where we at team wise, who's going to come back, who's going to be able to hold it down, things like that.
I think most teams are down 0-2, actually.
I think so
I think
too.
most teams are down 0-2. It's going to be interesting to see. I saw a stat the first time in 10 years or something. It was the
Right.
first time in a while that every home team won game one. The
Really?
first round.
Yeah, first round. Okay, that's a cool one.
Which, for the betting people out there, that must have been nice.
Yeah,
Bet every
yeah.
home team, all 8 of them. But it's going to be interesting to see. I think we're seeing what the seeds say.
Yeah.
They're
They're being right.
I want to see more from Dallas. That's for sure. And I want to see more out of the Thunder. I know they won, but they didn't really have a good showing. So,
Right. Yeah. I mean, consistency of greatness in the playoffs is the biggest thing, because as soon as you start slacking, even on just one end or the other, it all kind of like feeds into each other, and that's where the momentum starts to swing.
Absolutely.
In the playoffs, like, you start sucking at one thing and the team finds out that's your weakness for the night, then they start attacking. Then they start going at it.
Right.
And all of a sudden that momentum starts carrying, and then it carries into game 3, then it carries into game 4. Oh, you won game 5. Well, guess what? That momentum switched back because they got home now. So now they're back home at game 6. So, I definitely see that, and I think, injuries and some of the teams that are playing hurt and things like that, Heat not having Butler, I think that game on, what was that, 2 days ago?
Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday. I think seeing that game really stipulates the change of offense and defense and overall team, the running of the team without Jimmy.
Right.
You look at the Boston, the numbers and what we do against them without Jimmy, and then we get into the playoffs where it's like, you start all over. Like, you start from very scratch, So, for me, I'm just hoping that, those teams that are down 0-2 kind of make it a game. I don't really like sweeps.
Right.
I like,
some competition.
Just a little bit, just a little bit of competition. For me, I see a lot of youth in the playoffs, which I actually kind of like. Like, I don't see like the old heads, the same guys. I think last night LeBron really showed his age. I think Denver is on the road to repeat at this point.
I hope.
Denver, for me, watching that game last night, showed me a team trying to win back-to-back championships. You know what I mean? Like, they really did show me, hey, we're not just here to play the Lakers. We're here to run it back all the way.
Right.
So,
absolutely.
LA being down 0-2, we'll see if LeBron's still the king. Can he bring out old LeBron? I don't know. After last night,
not with that team. Probably not.
Right. I agree. And the team itself
probably
is
not.
Gonna need a lot of help. But I think honestly at this point, OKC is probably I would say my best bet to beat Denver at this point after watching everybody else. Clippers didn't really do anything for me, even though they won.
Right. How good are the Mavs?
So that's basically how good are the Mavs when Clippers' best player isn't even playing, and the other two guys are kind of on the back end of their careers as well. So PG and Harden,
and Russ.
Yeah, I don't look at them.
Too.
Yeah, I don't look at them and be like, yeah, those are my core guys of upcoming players that are going to lead me to the championship. Like, they're probably a couple years before they're done and done. So yeah, but how good are the Mavs? I think that's probably been the question all year round. How good are they really? How good can they be? I think they're still trying to figure that out themselves. I think Dallas is probably, I'd say, another 2 years away before they have
a piece or two.
Yeah, I think so. At this point, they're still missing that it factor between, Luka and Kyrie, I think, bring greatness to their team. But with greatness, you need a guy who can hold responsibilities, kind of like
and defense.
And defense, yeah. You can't let everybody score 125 points a game. You're just not going to win a championship that way. Wow. So, but yeah, who else? I think the game last night, Philly blew that one. They had they had the Knicks. They could have been 1-1, but I think MSG got behind their loyal fan base and finally put on for the city, I guess you could say, and held it down. I mean, Kyle Lowry also missing 2 huge free throws to finish the game is, whew, I mean, that's what you get paid for, man. That's
Right.
free money. I mean, I tell Mike, my client, all the time, that's where you make your money. You're the big guy. Like, if you're a guard and you're missing 2 free throws back to back at playoff time and you're a vet, like, I've got issues with that. Like, I got a lot of issues with
Absolutely.
that. So,
Absolutely.
I think the biggest thing is I think Heat are probably going to be the only team to maybe bring it out to a 7-game series at this
Oh
point.
no.
You think sweep, or
The Heat are done.
you think done?
I think 5 games max. That's it.
So who do you think is going to go to 7, if any?
Maybe the Knicks series.
I think that'll go 7.
Maybe Minnesota, Phoenix, if they can make some adjustments. If not, that's done. I think
I have to see this second game, or no, the third game. Phoenix is at home, right? No, the Phoenix play
they
tonight.
play tonight.
They play tonight
game
for
2's
for
tonight.
So I have to see.
I think.
Yeah,
I think
you're
so,
right. You're right. Yeah, I think so. So I have to see how the veteranness of OKC, or of the Suns transitions to this playoff run tonight, in order for me to really give a good perspective of how the rest of this series is going to go. Because when you look at the Timberwolves, I don't think they have any playoff experience, or winning playoff experience, I should
Right.
say. So
No, that's correct.
for me, when I look at it, I'm like, Rudy Gobert's never won anything. Cat's never won anything. Who else is on
Anthony
there?
Edwards.
Now Ant's not. He's still young. He's still trying to find his groove in the league. I mean, I like all the intensity and stuff, but how long does that intensity carry over when we get into games 5 and 6? If they win one, then they go win one, then they go, and then Minnesota comes back and steals one at Suns. Then all of a sudden we're in games 5 and game 6 and game 7. Is that fire still going to be able to be burning as high or as hot as it was games 1 and 2?
Right.
I don't know. I mean, again, you hope the energy's there every time they play. You hope you bring that same dog mentality every time you play. But again, the veteran savviness of the Suns is what I'm going to see tonight. Where it sits, where they're at come the rest of this
hopefully
series.
Yeah.
So, should be interesting. I think this overall playoff, and generally speaking, it's probably been the most interesting to see how the turnouts will be, because I believe every team that is playing right now deserves to be in, and then also can go on a run. Like, even if you go down 0-2.
Right.
I think a lot of these teams, I mean, obviously I believe LA probably be the hardest to go on a run versus the Denver.
The Heat too.
Heat too. So between those two, everyone else can definitely go on a run. Like, if they go down 0-2 tonight, the rest of them go down 0-2 tonight. I believe those teams have a chance to really kind of, I don't say push the issue, but like have a chance to make a run to push the issue. So whether or not they win, down 0-2, I couldn't tell you, but the possibilities of them kind of going into a series down 0-2, the ability to come back and win it is definitely more so there than majority of the times that we've seen teams go down 0-2 that were like 7 seeds, 8 seeds, whatever it may be. Those teams might not have a chance. So, like I said, I think this is probably the best NBA playoffs setup we've had in a while. Probably been a couple of years since I feel like everyone who's playing and around is like kind of like right where they should be, like, bracket wise, stuff like that. So, it should be interesting. I mean, especially not seeing how OKC has grown in the last 3 years now. Now being a number 1 seed, they got their chance to prove that they deserve that seed.
Absolutely.
So
I hope they do.
So we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening with them. We'll see what ends up happening with Denver and their repeat. Can Boston finally pull it out? These are all those questions. Milwaukee. Who would have saw Dame going to Milwaukee a year ago?
Nobody.
Nobody saw that. So And now look where they are. So, and no Giannis too.
Right.
No Giannis and still winning. So, um, a lot of interesting stuff, a lot of big opportunities for some of these teams to really kind of put their stamps on what they've been working for and how hard they've moved bodies, trades, this, that, the other, just to get to this point in this last season. It's all coming to fruition now, and we're starting to see where these teams line up, and we'll see. We'll see. I'd like to. At this point, for me, I think Denver's going to go ahead and repeat. I just, after watching what they did last night, down 20, Lakers blew that. Yeah, man. Joker is just, he's the true Kingslayer. Like,
Yes.
he's just, the Joker is the Kingslayer. That's
Yes.
exactly what it is. I mean, he is legitimately, I don't know. I mean, in the Western Conference, I don't know who you even put up against him after that. Like, I don't look at the West and I see somebody that can stop him or even hold him down. So, again, you're talking about your best player. Even if Jamal Murray has an off night, you still got Joker going for 20, 10, and 10.
Right.
So it's
Right.
it's crazy.
Right, just like
I don't
last
know.
night.
Exactly. So I don't know. We'll see.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, I think so.
It'll
I
be
think
fun.
I think this will be one of the better playoff runs, like I said, we've seen in a while.
Mhm.
It'll be interesting to see how some of these first round series turn out.
Mhm.
Who knows? We've seen the Heat come back, and maybe they do push to Game 7. I don't know if they will, but you see these guys, you see, it's professional. So it's like they come to work every day just like everyone else. And it's like if you have your off night, and that carries over to the next night, all of a sudden you find yourself down or you find yourself tied in a series. It's like, oh shit, here we go again. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap up this episode. Thank you so much for joining us again. For Will and I, we thank you for watching, and we're gonna keep pumping out these episodes. This is No Client Agent Privilege, aka No Cap Podcast. Thank you for listening.